Ethan Parker wasn't supposed to stop that evening. He was already late picking up his 8-year-old daughter from his sister's place, and the December wind cut through his worn jacket. But when he saw a car stalled on the shoulder, hazards blinking, he slowed without thinking. Kindness came to him naturally, maybe because life had given him little else. A young woman stood outside the car, shivering. "Is there any chance you know about engines?" she asked, her voice trembling more from anxiety than the cold. Ethan nodded. "Pop the hood." Within minutes he diagnosed the issue: a loose belt and a drained battery. A small fix, nothing she should pay for. As he reconnected the belt and jump-started her engine, she watched him with a strange mixture of relief and curiosity. "How much do I owe you?" she asked. "Nothing," Ethan said, brushing off his grease-stained hands. "Just helping out." Her lips parted, surprised. "Most people wouldn't stop." He shrugged. "I hope someone would help my daughter if she needed it." She stared at him then, something shifting in her eyes. "My name is Grace Lawson," she said softly. Then added, "And I'm the judge assigned to your custody case tomorrow." Ethan froze. Grace continued, voice gentle. "Tonight I didn't need a defendant. I met a father who puts kindness first." Her engine hummed back to life, but Ethan's heartbeat thundered louder. He suddenly realized, this one small act might change everything. Ethan hardly slept that night. He kept replaying the moment Grace revealed who she was. A judge. His judge. The woman whose signature could determine whether he kept full custody of Lily or lost her to his ex-wife, who appeared after years of absence demanding another chance. By morning, Ethan's nerves were raw, but Lily's cheerful humming as she braided her doll's hair steadied him. She didn't know what was at stake, and he wanted to keep it that way. At the courthouse, he expected a formal, strict version of the woman he met on the roadside. But when Judge Grace Lawson walked in, robed and composed, she carried the same quiet warmth in her eyes. The hearing began with his ex-wife's lawyer painting Ethan as an unstable single father struggling with bills, long work hours, and no proper structure for a child. Ethan stayed silent, hands clenched. It wasn't lies, but it wasn't the truth either. Then Grace turned to him. "Mr. Parker," she said, "please speak." Ethan stood. "I'm not perfect," he said simply. "But Lily is my whole world. I work 2 jobs, I make meals at midnight, and I sew her backpack when it rips instead of buying a new one. I do whatever I have to. Not because I'm strong, because she deserves someone who never gives up on her. And that's me." For a moment, the courtroom was silent. Grace watched him closely, not with judgment but with understanding. The same understanding she felt when he fixed her car without asking for anything. His ex-wife shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tide turning. Something about Ethan's honesty, his raw, unpolished truth, filled the room with a gravity no legal argument could match. Grace folded her hands. "Thank you, Mr. Parker," she said. But something deeper stirred behind her steady tone. The next witness was someone Ethan never expected, his neighbor, Mrs. Coleman. A retired teacher with a sharp memory and an even sharper tongue, she marched to the stand with purpose. "I wasn't asked to be here," she announced, giving Ethan's ex-wife a pointed glance. "But I came because truth matters." Grace allowed her to continue. "I've watched Ethan raise Lily since she was a toddler," Mrs. Coleman said. "I've seen him leave for work at dawn and return late, still finding time to read her stories. I've seen him patch her clothes, pack her lunches, teach her kindness. That child is loved. Deeply. And love is something you can't fake." Ethan's ex-wife fidgeted, then spoke out of turn. "He's not providing a stable life. Look at him, he fixes cars in a tiny garage and lives paycheck to paycheck." Mrs. Coleman raised an eyebrow. "Stability? That man has given Lily more stability than most 2-parent households. Children don't need mansions. They need honesty, safety, and someone who shows up, every single day." The courtroom murmured with agreement. Grace watched quietly, absorbing every word. Then came the unexpected twist. Your Honor, Ethan's ex-wife said suddenly, voice wavering. I'm not saying he's a bad father. I thought maybe I could get her back now that my life is improving. But I wasn't there for years. He was. Grace leaned forward. Ms. Reynolds, what do you truly want? She hesitated, eyes softening. I want what's best for Lily, and that might not be me right now. Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. Grace called for a short recess. As everyone stepped out into the hallway, she approached Ethan quietly. You spoke with honesty today, she said. And sometimes honesty is everything. Her expression carried something unspoken, something that made Ethan realize this case was about more than legalities. It was about humanity. The hallway outside the courtroom buzzed with murmurs, but Ethan heard none of it. His thoughts were tangled, fear, hope, disbelief, yet Grace's calm presence steadied him. Mr. Parker, she said gently, I want you to understand something. Last night, when you stopped to help me, you didn't know who I was. Ethan nodded. Wouldn't have mattered. A small smile tugged at her lips. Exactly. That's what struck me. Character isn't built in courtrooms, it's revealed in moments when no one is watching. Before he could reply, Lily came running down the hallway with his sister. She leapt into his arms, giggling. Daddy! Daddy! Look, I drew you a picture! Grace knelt down. Lily's drawing was simple, stick figures, a small house, a sun, and 3 hearts floating above them. That's beautiful, Grace said, admiration warming her voice. Lily beamed. It's me and Daddy. He always fixes everything. Grace's eyes flicked to Ethan, noticing the words, the innocence, the truth she had already seen for herself. When court resumed, Grace addressed both parents with a measured but compassionate tone. I've considered everything presented today, the testimonies, the circumstances, and the best interest of the child. She paused, glancing at Lily's drawing still clutched in Ethan's hand. Stability isn't defined by wealth or convenience. It's defined by presence, dedication, and love. Ethan held his breath. Therefore, Grace continued, primary custody will remain with Mr. Parker, with reasonable visitation rights granted to Ms. Reynolds as she continues to rebuild her life. A soft gasp escaped his ex-wife. Surprisingly, she nodded, not angry, but relieved. Maybe even grateful. Ethan blinked back tears he didn't expect. The weight he'd carried for years finally loosened. When the gavel struck, Grace met his eyes again. And in that moment, Ethan sensed this wasn't the end. It was a beginning. When the courtroom emptied, Ethan lingered near the steps outside, holding Lily's hand as she swung her legs happily from the bench. Snowflakes drifted down softly, settling on his jacket. He finally felt like he could breathe again. Grace exited the building a few minutes later, still in her robe, now covered by a long wool coat. She hesitated before walking toward them. Mr. Parker? She said. Ethan stood. Judge Lawson. I don't know how to thank you. You don't owe me thanks, she replied. You earned today. Her gaze softened as it shifted to Lily. Both of you did. Lily smiled shyly. Are you Daddy's friend? Grace knelt, her breath misting in the cold air. I think I'd like to be, if that's okay with him. Ethan's chest tightened. He wasn't used to people choosing him. Not for who he might become, just for who he already was. I'd like that, he said quietly. Grace rose, folding her hands. You know, yesterday I was worried about that hearing. I assumed it would be another difficult case. She exhaled, smiling faintly. But then my car broke down. And a stranger showed up in the freezing cold just to help me. You would have done the same, Ethan said. Grace tilted her head. Maybe. But you did it without hesitation. Without knowing it could affect your case. That matters to me, as a judge, but more importantly as a person. The wind brushed between them, carrying a quiet understanding. Lily tugged Ethan's sleeve. Daddy? Can we get hot chocolate? Grace laughed softly. I know a place nearby, she said. Best in town. Ethan glanced at her, surprised by how natural it felt. Lead the way. They walked together through the falling snow, 3 silhouettes, not yet a family, but already something hopeful. And Ethan realized the truth. Sometimes the kindness you give the world finds its way back to you, in ways you never expect.